Good morning everyone. Today's journal club topic is atherosclerotic plaque healing. It is a review article from the journal, the New England Journal of Medicine. My moderator is Dr. L.N. Samaga sir. Atherosclerotic plaques typically develop over a period of years and decades. The occurrence of an acute coronary syndrome probably depends on the disruption of balance between instability, that is activation, and healing, which is passivation of an atherosclerotic plaque. In this article, we would deal with three things. Basically, the mechanisms of atherosclerotic plaque healing. 2. Their role in the progression of atherosclerotic disease and in the development of acute coronary syndromes. And the 3rd, the clinical and potential therapeutic implications of the healing process. 1. The mechanism of plaque rupture, erosion and healing. Plaques consist of an extracellular lipid particle, foam cells and debris that accumulate in the intima of the arterial wall, formed a lipid or a necrotic core. Core is surrounded by a layer of collagen-rich matrix along with smooth muscle cells, which together forms the fibrous cap. Inflammatory cells, that is basically the T cells and the macrophages, they infiltrate the lesions and involved in the plaque progression and thrombosis, leading to acute coronary syndrome. The two most frequent causes for thrombosis is the plaque rupture and superficial erosion. Coming to plaque rupture. In plaque rupture, there is a fibrous cap covering the necrotic core which fissures, exposing the highly thrombogenic core to the flowing blood. There is a typical prototype of the rupture-prone plaque, which is a thin cap fibroatheroma, a plaque with large necrotic core covered by a thin fibrous cap infiltrated by activated macrophages. Now coming to plaque erosion. It is caused by endothelial damage or denudation and overlying thrombosis in the absence of a frank cap rupture. So here there is no cap rupture. There is a prototype of the erosion prone plaque, which is a proteoglycan rich and lipid poor, and usually they lack inflammatory infiltrates. So when a plaque rupture or erosion occur in a prothrombotic milieu, subocclusion or an occlusive thrombosis results, causing a symptomatic acute coronary event. Otherwise, if thrombosis resisting factors prevail, the thrombus formation is contained and plaque healing occurs. Coming to atherosclerotic plaque healing, this takes place after disruption of a plaque and prevents the formation of a thrombus, promotes plaque repair and restores the integrity of the vessels. Now the steps involved in atherosclerotic plaque healing. The overlapping phases are 1. Thrombus lysis, 2. Granulation tissue formation, and 3. are the vessel re-endothelialization. Atherosclerotic plaque healing differs from plaque stabilization. In plaque healing, it follows plaque disruption, which takes place in a limited time period. While stabilization, it is a progressive transformation of lipid-rich plaque into a more fibrous and a calcific plaque. After plaque rupture or erosion, the exposure of thrombogenic plaque components, example, the necrotic core, tissue factor and collagen, provides a potent stimulus for platelet activation and aggregation and for thrombus formation, and simultaneously triggers the endogenous fibrinolysis to physiologically preserve the vessel patency. Prevention of lasting occlusive thrombus formation is a result of an intact and functional endogenous fibrinolytic system. The release of elastase and cathepsin G from neutrophils and monocytes which is trapped in the thrombus, which directly break down the fibrin, and the dispersing effect of the laminar blood flow. The structural properties of fibrin fibers are another important determinant of susceptibility to endogenous thrombolysis, in which thick fibers appearing to be more susceptible to lysis than compact thin fibers. Now coming to plaque disruption. Here it activates the proliferative response in the smooth muscle cells of the local plaque, as well as the migration of smooth muscle cells from the underlying media to the intima. This process is being influenced by two things: the release of growth factors, especially the TGF-beta, and the second is mitogens, which is thrombin by the platelets. Activated platelets, they adhere to and aggregating over the injured arterial walls stimulates homing of bone marrow derived smooth muscle cell progenitors from the circulating blood through P-selectins and stromal cell derived factors 1 alpha. At the plaque healing process, proliferating smooth cells, they synthesize extracellular matrix, which leads to granulation tissue formation, which is rich in proteoglycans and type 3 collagen. When healing completes, type 1 replaces type 2 collagens, and complete re-endothelialization of the plaque surface with creation of new intima eventually occurs. This figure shows the mechanism of atherosclerotic plaque healing, the different phases of rupture and healing. So in panel A, it shows a central core containing of lipids and necrotic debris, which is the yellow, macrophages and form cells, which is pink cells, surrounded by a fibrous cap composed of collagen rich matrix and smooth muscle cells, inflammatory cells including monocytes, which is lavender in color, and macrophages, which is aqua, and infiltrates the intima. A rupture of the fibrous cap is being shown in panel B, which exposes the highly thrombogenic necrotic core, which leads to platelet activation, aggregation, and thrombus formation. In case of plaque erosion, the thrombus formation takes place in the presence of endothelial denudation, which is more characteristic of plaques without a necrotic core. In a patient with efficient endogenous fibrinolytic system, rupture and erosion of the fibrous cap triggers a cascade of enzymatic processes which facilitates the fibrin breakdown and lysis of the thrombus. Now coming to panel C, in panel C there is a release of growth factors which we discussed earlier. Basically it is the TGF-beta and mitogens, which will lead to stimulates the proliferation of the local smooth muscle cells, leading to homing of the smooth muscle cells from the underlying media, as well as the bone marrow derived smooth muscle progenitor cells from the circulating blood. This in turn will synthesize proteoglycans and type 3 collagens, which forms a provisional extracellular matrix. And in panel D, when the plaque healing is complete, type 1 collagen gradually replaces type 3 collagen, re-endothelialization occurs. This process prevents the rapid development of occlusive thrombus, but that can cause the slow progression of a non-occlusive lipid-rich plaque to a stenotic, more fibrous lesion. After healing, the atherosclerotic plaque undergoes further cycles of destabilization, subsequent healing with accumulation of new granulation tissue. Now coming to the prevalence and phenotype of plaque healing. The reported prevalence of healed plaques is less than 5% to more than 80%. The imaging techniques to assess the plaque healing in vivo is 1. Optical coherence tomography (OCT), 2. Intravascular ultrasound, and 3 is cardiovascular magnetic resonance imaging. Serial carotid MRI in patients with a transient ischemic attack showed healing of plaque rupture or erosion in almost 90% of patients who had no recurrence of ischemic symptoms at 12 months of follow-up, whereas this tendency towards healing was less clear in patients with subsequent CVA. Now, why do some ruptured or eroded plaques fail to heal, resulting in vessel occlusion, whereas other plaques heal, entering a quiescent phase? This can be explained based on the phenotypic features of a healed plaque. Healed plaque ruptures and healed plaque erosion. On histopathological examination using a picrocereus red staining, healed plaque ruptures, they are typically identified as newly synthesized type 3 collagen, which appears as green under polarized light over a disrupted fibrous cap containing type 1 collagen, which appears yellow to white. They have multiple layers of lipid and necrotic core, indicative of a previous episode of thrombosis and healing. Such lesions have a multiple layers of lipid and necrotic core, indicating that such episodes have occurred many times. While in healed plaque erosion, there is a distinctive layer of a dense collagen interspersed with smooth muscle cells and proteoglycans without evidence of pre-existing disruption of the fibrous cap. On OCT imaging, healed plaques appear as heterogeneous signal-rich layers with optical signal intensity that is different from the underlying plaque, creating a characteristic onion-like appearance without interruption of the old fibrous cap or with interruption that is suggestive of a previous rupture. So the figure down shows the OCT images of a healed coronary plaque. In panel A, it is the histopathological examination of the plaque stained with picrocereus red stains, which is viewed under a polarized light. It shows a healed plaque rupture, which majority of the plaque collagen, which is type 1 collagen, is yellow-white, and the newly formed collagen repairing the disrupted plaque, which is type 3 collagen, is green. In panel B to F, it is representative of the in vivo OCT images of human healed coronary plaques with heterogeneous signal layers of healed tissues, which is shown as with the white double-headed arrows, which is characteristic of the characterized by different optical signal intensities from the underlying plaque, giving the lesion an onion-like appearance. Coronary thrombi overlying ruptured or eroded plaques may also be assessed for evidence of healing. In a pathological study involving 111 patients who died suddenly from coronary causes, almost half of the thrombi overlying the plaques ruptures had no evidence of healing, and the remaining half showed phases of healing. In contrast, more than 85% of the thrombi overlying the plaque erosions, they showed late stages of healing characterized by inflammatory cell degradation, infiltration of smooth muscle cells, proteoglycan deposition, and platelet and fibrin layering. The conclusion is plaque erosion may be more likely to heal than plaque ruptures. Neoangiogenesis is a crucial step in thrombus organization, as the new microvessels provide oxygen and nutrients to the healing tissue. Now coming to inflammation and plaque healing. Inflammation can precipitate an exacerbate the thrombotic complications of atherosclerosis. So this figure shows the inflammatory pathways involved in plaque instability and plaque healing. The first panel depicts the plaque instability. So here there is an activation of type 1 helper cells which produce interferon gamma, which inhibits the synthesis of interstitial collagen by smooth muscle cells. The type 1 helper cells, they also activate M1 macrophages through the CD40 ligand CD40 macrophage receptor interaction, stimulating an overproduction of interstitial collagenase including matrix metalloproteases 1, 8 and 13, which in turn promote collagen breakdown. This interaction also produces an overexpression of the tissue factor by M1 macrophages. The decreased synthesis and increased breakdown of interstitial collagen render the fibrous cap more susceptible to rupture and enhance the thrombotic potential due to inflammatory activation triggers the thrombus formation over a disrupted plaque. Now coming to plaque healing. So alternative M2 macrophages, mainly triggered by type 2 helper cells, cytokines interleukin 4 and interleukin 13, they produce anti-inflammatory cytokines including interleukin 10 and secrete profibrotic factors including fibronectin, insulin-like growth factor 1 and TGF-beta, which promote the production of interstitial collagen and extracellular matrix by smooth muscle cells. In the last phase of healing process, the M2 macrophages also induce osteoblast differentiation and maturation of vascular smooth muscle cells, promoting plaque calcification. Now coming to the role of plaque healing in the clinical events. In the past, the mechanism of acute coronary syndrome focused on the pathogenesis of plaque instability. The recent intracoronary imaging, it showed that acute coronary syndrome is a double hit of the plaque disruption and impaired healing. So that the first hit, which is the acute destabilization of an atherosclerotic plaque by either rupture or erosion, and second hit is by an impaired healing capacity. In patients with an effective healing system, the first hit is contained, the unstable plaque is pacified, and the healing process promotes the development of a more fibrous, stable plaque. Repeated double hit leads to stepwise stenotic progression, possibly leading to a high-grade coronary occlusion in the absence of acute coronary event. So this figure, it is basically the double hit theory of atherosclerosis, where you see the first hit is the acute disruption of the atherosclerotic plaque, that is either a rupture or an erosion, and the second hit is the impaired healing capacity. In a study, impaired healing was associated with a recurrent atherosclerotic syndrome, whereas in presence of healed plaques with a predictor of long-term clinical stability. Plaque healing may protect patients with atherosclerotic disease from the occurrence of acute coronary syndromes instead of leading to a chronic coronary syndrome. Now the therapeutic implications and future perspectives. The therapeutic interventions that might enhance the atherosclerotic plaque healing. The therapies is first is lipid lowering diet, example low cholesterol and low fat diet. The effect is it reduces expression and proteolytic activity of interstitial collagenase MMP1, increases the interstitial collagen content within the fibrous cap, reduces oxidative stress, reduces endothelial cell activation, reduces the tumor factor expression and activity, that is reduces the thrombotic potential. The second one is the lipid lowering drugs, example statins and the PCSK9 inhibitors. The two FDA approved medications are alirocumab and evolocumab. They reduce the expression and proteolytic activity of the interstitial collagenase. Almost most of the activities which is said above is being done. To add on to it, it is the they upregulate the endothelial progenitor cells and circulating angiogenic cells. They reduce the plasminogen activator inhibitor 1 levels. Now the third one is the anti-inflammatory drugs. Example interleukin 1 beta antagonist and colchicines. These reduce the expression of adhesion molecules and leukocyte recruitment on endothelial cells. They reduce the tissue factor expression, that is reduce the thrombotic potential. They reduce fibrinogen and plasminogen activator inhibitor 1 levels. They reduce the thrombotic potential and increase the fibrinolytic potential. The fourth is CD31 targeting therapies. Example, agonist peptides, antibodies and recombinant proteins. They polarize the macrophages toward an alternative M2 phenotype, that is more favoring to plaque healing. Epigenetic therapies targeting macrophage polarization. Example, DNA methylation, histone modifications, miRNAs and other RNAs. Polarizes the macrophages towards the alternative M2 phenotype. Now the last one is P13KC CXCL10 axis inhibitor. Here it increases re-endothelialization after vascular injury. Intensive antiplatelet therapy with a newer P2Y12 inhibitor has proved effective in stabilizing plaque erosion with a progressive reduction in the thrombotic burden at 30 days and complete healing at 1 year. A recent study suggests that low-dose colchicine favorably modifies the morphologic features of coronary plaques, producing a more stable fibrous phenotype. While the systemic deletion or myeloid specific deletion of histone deacetylase 9 and 3 has been shown to promote M2 macrophage polarization. All these are new studies which shows that or if such modifications are being made, it promotes plaque healing more than plaque instabilization. So the conclusion is, healed plaques are more merely innocent bystanders. In particular, the evolution of coronary artery disease occurs to be more stable in patients with healed plaques than in patients with unhealed plaques. It is unclear why some patients have a good capacity for healing and others do not. A better insight into the pathophysiology of plaque healing might allow the implementation of strategies to transform the poor healing into good healing, thus further reducing the residual burden of cardiovascular diseases. Thank you.